All right, let's do these legs. So, my first leg selected right here. Let's try to do the automatic and let's see what Maya does. So, I'm going to hit automatic and oh, okay. So, did some funky things. It actually cut the UV map. If you could see here, there's some cuts and gave it 4 seams, which was so not necessary. It also set the bottom part of it as its own little UV map, which also is not necessary. We just want to have one single seam instead of 4. So, what I'm going to do is instead of automatic, let's make a new, let me select this one. Let's make a new projection, UV map projection. So I'm going to go up to create, and instead of automatic, I'm going to use cylindrical. So if I hit cylindrical, that should give us a new projection. Okay. Now let's make sure that this is closed. Other way. And now closing it is just, I'm using the manipulators over in my 3D space, but I also can just do it in my 2D space, my UV editor, by scaling it here myself. Okay, so this looks much better than it did before, but if you can see, there's still warped. It doesn't look as clean as I want it to, and there is this funky seam right here where I don't want my seam there. Um, it's actually really important that you hide your seams as much as you can. If you can see, there's always going to be a little bit of deformation around your seams. It just can't be helped. Your textures are always going to have just a little bit of warping where they are sewn together. So it's super important. Try to hide your seams as much as you can. So instead of having my seam right here, I'm going to go to edge, and I'm going to try to put my seam along this edge instead. So I'm going to select that edge. You can see it's highlighted right here in the UV editor, and I'm going to cut. Awesome. So I made a new cut. There's my new seam, but it's time to get rid of this old seam. So I'm going to sew this seam closed. Whereas you can cut seams, you can also close them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this old seam. I'm going to select it piece by piece. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to select this seam. And you can tell I'm selecting it because it highlights the spot where it's going to sew it closed. So if I hover over one end, if I hover over one side, you can see it highlights on the opposite side where it's going to be sewn. So here it's going to be sewn to here, here it's going to be sewn to here. Zoom in and keep selecting those edges. All right, so I think I have it selected for the most part. Let me check down here. I can also just select them from here. And let's hit stitch together right here. Okay. Take a look now. Much better. So we have where I made, oops, we have where I made my newest cut, my new seam, where I placed it hidden along the back right there. And we got rid of that seam that Maya created. And now this looks much more clean and precise. But I want to do something else to it. I want to make this look a little more uniform because you can tell these checkers are still being stretched. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select all of my UVs and I'm going to use a tool called the Unfold tool. Now with the Unfold tool, that is Maya just unfolding it and straightening the UVs as much as possible. And you'll see how that works when I come over to the UV toolkit, come down to the Unfold tab, and you can see right here, it is called Unfold, and watch what happens. There we go. Now look at my checkers right here. They're nice and square. And this looks pretty clean now. Now, you are going to see that there is some deformation on the bottom. So you do have the option if you want to, you could select these faces right around here, and you could make this part of the bottom of the stool leg its own UV map, but that's so not important um, because you're not even going to see this part of the stool leg. Now, if you were working in this industry and you had a director that said, yes, the camera is actually going to zoom in on the bottom of the stool, you are going to see this part. Your director may very well tell you you need to separate this part of the UV map from the rest of it. Um, so that's something to keep in mind. Sometimes you're going to be working with people that are a little more, they want a little more detail, and there are some that are like, that's not going to be seen. Don't even worry about it. So it really is just who you're working with. So this looks good. I'm going to come to the UV editor and let's select this UV shell and let's scale that down and move it to the side. So now we have this part of the stool nicely UV mapped. Now, there's this awesome shortcut that we have where you can transfer the UVs of one stool leg to the other instead of having to manually do each leg by itself. Now, this is only possible because these stool legs are actually copies of the same model. These are all the same model. They're just kind of rotated in different ways. But because they come from the same polygon, we have the ability to transfer the attributes, the UVs, from one to the other. So let's go to object mode. I am going to select the one stool leg, and then I'm going to select the other here. Go to mesh, transfer attributes, and let's open up the options box. So now in the options box here, all you need to do is make sure that component is toggled on. I know UV sounds like the one to do, but not in this case. It's actually component. It's a little confusing, but that's the one. And let's hit transfer. There we go. Now you see we transferred the UV map from this leg to this leg. So now if I was to go to UV shell, and you can tell, let's select both of these here. There they are. So we transferred those attributes, which just makes our life so much easier. So now let's do the same with the leg right here, this leg right here. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to select the next leg. Oops, make sure you're in object mode first. Let's select the original, select this one, mesh, transfer attributes, make sure component is toggled on, and transfer. There we go. Now, if you'll notice, because it's mimicking exactly what's happening to this leg, the cut is going to be facing the same way as this one, and it's no longer going to be hidden on these legs. So what you can do is make new cuts where it's going to be hidden and stitch together where the old cut is, where the old seam is for each one of these legs. And I will do that off screen, and we will come back to take a look at the footrests and the rivets.